Politiko, politika, mo kandidato, bisag kinsa. Gustong mo silbi sa nasugda, bisag huway grado, mo intra. Politiko, politika, mo gasto kog dakong kwarta. Bahalag mahudan mangutang pa, kung mo daog mabawi ra. Eleksyon, kinsabay pilion, utang ato lang palit. Bantay yun, aron walay likas. Bantay yun, miyanang dagdag bawas. Politiko, politika, kinahanglan yun maayo ka. Kay kun bati.
Are you a Filipino living in Middle East, Europe, Asia and the Pacific, USA or Canada? You are our story. You are our Filipinos World. The Filipinos World Saturday every 4 to 5 p.m. only here on RPN DXKO 1368 Teleradyo. This
Nandito ng lahat, saan pa pupunta? Malalim ang dagat at mababaw ang ligaya. Halatang Pilipino ka, abot langit ang iyong ngiti. Lahi ng masasaya. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapa ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Mula Batanes hanggang Ulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines. Nandito ng lahat, saan pa pupunta? Malalim.
Good afternoon, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and to the Filipinos across the globe. My name is Agnes, and you are watching live here in the Filipinos World. We are broadcasting live powered by CNN Philippines TV5, Cagayan de Oro City, and live streaming via Facebook, facebook.com/RPN Cagayan de Oro 1368. And today is October 23, 2021, and it is the Apo Iraya Festival in Occidental Mindoro. And to all Occidental Mindoro, happy fiesta to all of you. Today also is the start of the Filipinos World news segment, which is not politicking. Let's talk about politics. With our episode, the analysis and discussion of the Philippine political system with our guests, Attorney Michael Henry Yusingco, a policy analyst and constitutionalist, and Engineer Francisco June Aguilar Jr., a former political leader and activist. According to Joy Aceron of the Frederick Ebert Stiftung, political parties are supposed to perform the important functions of candidate selection, leadership formation, interest aggregation, and agenda development. But in the Philippines, parties can be best described as temporary political alliances. Some would even go to the extent of saying there are no real parties in the country, and what we have are mere fans club of politicians. The politics is dominated by a powerful elite with dynastic politics common to in both local and national levels. Political parties are weak, with elections instead dominated by individual and familial personalities. Political positions provide extensive opportunities for patronage and clientelism, and electoral fraud are common. Corruption is considered widespread, while state institutions are relatively weak. Politics has been heavily influenced at times by the Catholic Church, the Philippine military, and the United States. But despite pessimism about the potential of political change, democracy maintains strong public support and voter turnout is high. Let us hear from our guests this afternoon their analysis and perspective on the upcoming national elections and Philippine politics when we come back. Kaya mga ka-TFWs, dyan lamang po kayo at huwag bibitiw. We will be right back.
Modal manufactures a highly distinctive and exclusive range of interior solutions that combines functional excellence with design appeal. Solutions with integrated, innovative, ergonomic features to well-designed workplaces. Our company is based on the inherent values that shape the core of who we are. It is through our living values that we continue to fulfill the promise of our ideal and environmental design standards. Each and every groundbreaking product we've introduced over the years has been the result of our team's hard work and dedication to provide our absolute best to who we care most about, who is our customers. Whether the job is big or small, our team is used to solving complicated tasks and makes sure to get projects to successful completion. Whether it is local or global. This is why LabModal is known as one of Europe's leading manufacturers of innovative system solutions for devices used in laboratory facilities, hospitals, and educational facilities. Solutions that can be easily adapted to the growing needs and workflows demands of the future. LabModal, designing safe.
For your hospital chemical storage, classroom interior design, school furnitures, fume cupboards for schools, or hospital system cabinets, you may please get in touch with LoveModul via email at info@lovemodul.com or visit our website at www.lovemodul.com. Hello to Kagawa Jasmine T. Borja of Barangay Kamaman and Cagayan de Oro City, and to Revival Spa staff, Weng and Ems, for taking care of my hair. And for your beauty makeover, you may please visit Revival Spa in front of Barangay Hall in Kamaman and Cagayan de Oro City. Mga kababayan, napapanahon na ang politika. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, expressed filing of candidacy done 5 p.m. set the deadline last October 8, 2021. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez expressed the implementation of the procedure as stated in Section 24 of the body's resolution number 10717. Indeed, candidates filed their COCs on the government position they wish to fill in. Makakasama natin ngayon live here in the Filipinos world, live from Melbourne, Australia. He is policy analyst and constitutionalist, Attorney Michael Henry Yusingco. Hi, Attorney Mike. Good afternoon, or good, is it afternoon in Australia? Wait, we're just adjusting your audio. Can you hear me? Hello? Okay, John, can you make it louder? Okay, because we are having technical adjustments at the moment. Our studio is new and so on. Kumusta? Kumusta po?
Mabuti naman.
Okay,
Am
great.
I okay now?
Yes, you are loud and clear, as loud
This
as
is
the
better.
waves. Yes, that is
Okay.
better.
As I was saying, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, whichever is applicable to all your viewers and listeners all over the world. And thank you for having me in your show.
Well, indeed, thank you so much for being here. Kasama rin natin ngayong hapon, live from Quezon City. He is former OFW, the president of Filipino Migrants Group, and a former political activist, Engineer Francisco June Aguilar Jr. June, welcome to the Filipinos world. Magandang hapon. Can you turn on your audio? Is it on? Should be. There's no sound, Jong. Muted. I think you are muted. Is it on? No? Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, June. Good afternoon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you loud
Okay.
and clear.
Good afternoon, Agnes, and good afternoon, Attorney Mike. Good afternoon, all viewers of the Filipinos world. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back, and of course to have intelligent, brilliant minds come together again in the Filipinos world is a privilege and a pleasure to have you both here. Okay, let me start my question with Attorney Michael Yusingco. The political parties in the Philippines are often blamed with our political leaders and politicians with their inability to go beyond their political ambitions and vested interests. The Filipinos are sometimes blamed for not participating in partisan politics and for not voting according to party affiliations. And the politicians behave the way they do because people do not vote according to their party platforms or programs. Attorney Michael, what's your reaction to that statement? What happened to our Philippine political system?
Well, it's true. Everything that you just said and described about our political system is 100% accurate. And as a voter myself, my view on this is there has to be institutional changes for sure. There has to be cultural changes, definitely. But just a simple analysis that I can offer is our political system is the way it is now, primarily or fundamentally, I think, because politicians and voters have forgotten, purposely or inadvertently, the standard of public office that is prescribed in the 1987 Constitution, which is public office is a public trust. So, ang mga politicians natin, obviously they don't follow that, no? They disregard that. That's why you are correct earlier when you mentioned that the corruption is rife in government. In fact, our government is one of the most perceived corrupt governments in the world, according to Transparency International. My concern really is that voters themselves have, they don't really give importance to that standard, when they vote. When they vote, they have a very immediate view of our politics. What is it in it for me? What is in it for my family or for my community? So sometimes I think voters should realize that they're not actually just voting for themselves, but they're voting for future generations of Filipinos. And that's where the standard comes in. Will you trust, as a voter, I should be asking myself, will I trust or entrust the lives of future Filipinos to the candidate that I'm voting? And I think we should always keep that in mind, and let that be the sort of the linchpin of our political culture, that we always ask ourselves, when we assess politicians, whether as candidates or as presenting themselves, is do we entrust the lives of our children and our children's children and the future of our country, to these candidates, to these politicians? And we have to be honest when we answer that question.
Right. I was kind of like reflecting on when you said that are we voting for ourselves or are we voting for the sake of the nation also? But there's a kind of trend, and I don't know when had it started. I was away the country for the past 12 years, and I'm not constantly aware what's going on. Maybe you will tell our viewers what's happening to the political parties. Are the politicians or even the political party don't have principles or ideologies now that it stands for its party to effect change for the nation? But before you answer that, let me have this kind of observation. Still from the Stephen write-up, the politicians' behavior made them become performing like they are in a circus, behaving as clowns because they respond to how Filipinos want them to become. So it's like saying, naging uto-uto ang mga politician dahil gusto ng tao na ganun din siya or sila. Hindi ba dapat ng isang politiko ang maging mabuting ehemplo para sa taong bayan based on his or her action? What do you think of that?
I disagree with that observation. I don't blame Filipinos for the quality of politicians that we have.
Right.
I mean, Filipinos, I know for a fact really that they don't like what's going on. They don't necessarily appreciate the behavior of our politicians while in office. And the reason why we have the kind of politicians that we have is because of the domination of political dynasties, dynastic politicians. Now, that's not entirely the fault of Filipinos or voters, no? It's a combination of a lot of things. But the reality is, our political system is now dominated by dynastic politicians. And these are the politicians that you were describing earlier as, just concerned about staying in power, and therefore they perpetuate patronage, clientelism, and all that. But I don't necessarily agree with the view that that's the fault of Filipinos.
All right.
Certainly, Filipinos have a responsibility, but it's a combination of economics, politics, and also bad luck in terms of being colonized by America and not being taught the way, the proper ways of democracy, and also suffering a 20-year dictatorship. No? That is the worst luck that hit us, is that we were under a 20-year dictatorship, and that really hurt our political culture very badly. So while the problem that exists now is really a huge problem, and that is the domination of political dynasties over our political culture, I have to say that Filipinos can still address that problem themselves. But it's going to take a lot of work, and I'm happy that we're talking about it, because talking about it is part of diminishing the influence and domination of dynastic politicians.
All right. I want to move that later. I know, focusing on the topic about political dynasty, because you were interviewed in one of the radio, teleradio, and you mentioned that the political dynasty is already rotten in our political system. I want to bring in Engineer June Aguilar, and I have a question for him. June, this is my question to you. Are we no longer seeing a party with ideology for which any party member adheres to being a member of the party because he or she believes that such party is a good choice for the Filipino people? It's like saying most of our political parties can be termed as party for convenience, or party-partihan lang, or just a party just to be elected, and not a party that brings in the ideologies for our principles for the Filipino people. Your reaction on this, June?
Well, nakakalungkot, Agnes, pero I agree with some of the points that was given by my colleague, si Atty. Mike. At ang nakakalungkot dito about our party, the party list system, and also the previous two-party system, now a multi-party system. Going back to our political history, yung recent ages lang, nung panahon ng simulan na yung panahon ni Presidente Marcos, the ruling party, KBL, during the time, is the strongest party ever in the whole 20 years. They lorded over KBL. But look at where is KBL now? And then, after KBL, napalitan. Andyan ang Liberal Party at ang Unido, and they were strong during the time. And the same goes, after the Liberal Party, pumasok ang Lakas, at everybody is with Lakas. Nawala ang Lakas, pumasok ang puwersa ng masa ni Presidente Erap. Lahat ng tao noon, puro puwersa ng masa. Halos, talagang parang ulila yung mga dating political party, no? And it goes on. I mean, nabalik ang liberal, bagamat nagkaroon ng split, nagkaroon pa ng atyensa wing nung araw. Everybody is with the liberal nung pumalik ang naluklok ang Pangulong Noynoy. Nawala ang Pangulong Noynoy, pumasok ang administrasyong Duterte sa pamamagitan ng pagpasok sa PDP Laban. And PDP Laban was the dominant, highly dominant, no? It's like KBL during when we started. So ito yung napaka simpleng pag-analisa siguro dyan is that ang ating sistema ng politika, ang political system, ang party system was really very weak and almost negligible, no? Kasi negligible in the sense na malakas lang during the time when they are in the position, they are having the administration. The moment they leave, the moment they are replaced, immediately they become orphans. Kasi magtatalo na yung mga dating tumama, you know? So, ang nangyayari, hindi nag-grow ang political system, hindi nag-grow ang ating multi-party system. I don't know what is the ang analysis ni Attorney Mike, pero I'm citing about the multi-party system against the two-party system. And para sa akin, ang multi-party system is really, we are creating a minority president every now and then. And this is one of the things that I think has to be rectified, no? If we want to grow. Kasi napakababaw ng dahilan para lumipat ang ilang politiko sa kasalukuyang namamayagpag na partido, no? At nung araw meron tayong batas na yung anti turncoatism, hindi ba, attorney? Pero yun man ay nawala na rin. So everybody is free to fly like butterflies. And nakita ko yan during this 20, when the PDP Laban has catapulted to power by the ascension of President Rodrigo Duterte. So nakita ko with my own eyes how minsan nga nagugulat ko, ito magiging PDP Laban. Nung mga nakakaraang panahon lang in recent years, totally hindi siya talaga nag-agree, but then makita mo na lang nanunumpa na. So ganyan ka weak ang ating party system, at palagay ko it is working against the Filipino people, Agnes.
Party loyalty anymore. So whoever is dominant or with the current administration, everybody hops in and join in with that political party. There's a question on this, and and you both can also answer this. Parties do not select candidates, but are instead formed by the candidates themselves as vehicles for their own campaigns. In other words, when we talk of parties in the Philippines, there's a wide gap between standard and practice. Consequently, the public often views efforts aimed at party strengthening as mere attempts to further entrench traditional politics and elite interests. This is perhaps the greatest challenge in changing the country's party system. Is this the scenario with our political parties? Do we consider political parties unvalued with ideologies and orientation, or say, not benefiting people's interests, but for political leaders' hidden and personal interests, and at times protection of business interests, or whoever funds their political machineries? Let's start with Attorney Michael.
Yes, Agnes, no, I agree with that 100%. No? That's a very accurate description of the rottenness or the brokenness of our political party system. The good thing is, if you know, parang silver lining here, is that all Filipinos recognize this. So hindi lang, not just the three of us and the author that you cited, but all Filipinos are aware and are knowledgeable that our political parties are really below par. No? So, sinauna pa as Engineer June. I'm sorry to reveal your age, Engineer June. But Engineer June started with the two-party system, which was immediately after our independence, no, from America. So, simulat sa pool, we've already been challenged with our political party system. But under the Constitution, this Constitution, the 1987 Constitution, which prescribes a multi-party system, yung kabulukan really just reach really high levels, no? Really extreme levels, I would say. And many Filipinos, if not all Filipinos, are aware of that. Now, the next step, I would say, I would think, is that we should really be now thinking of steps to reform, right? Reform the rotten and broken political system. Now, there are many ways to do that. Constitutional reform is one. Legislative reform is one. Is another. In fact, there's a pending bill now in Congress called the Political Party Development Act, which bans turncoatism, yung palipat-lipat ng political parties, and also establishes a stricter campaign finance regime so that accountable yung mga politicians natin with the money they spent during campaign. No? So that's the second path to reform. The third one is civil society doing its part in really establishing genuine political parties. So I hope you can indulge me. Kami sa Ateneo School of Government, we have a political party development course which we are running now. But we are running it now sa BARM muna, dun sa Bangsamoro Autonomous Region muna, because they have a different system of government, a parliamentary system, which, by the way, makes political parties even more important kasi parliamentary system sila. So we are running that course. We started this year, and the participants who are emerging politicians in the BARM really are very receptive. No, that's why I can confidently say that Filipinos actually hate the current political party system, and they want to change it because our participants have expressed that, and they are now in the process of forming their own political parties, but this time very different from what we currently see at the national level. So yung mga parties nila, they're not just based on ideology or principle, but they actually have members at the grassroots level. So hindi lang sila comprised of politicians who are only interested in using the party for electoral purposes, as you mentioned earlier. But these political parties are, they have members, and they're actually based in communities and will work even beyond elections. So,
Right. Okay. So that is a very participative political system mo. At saka, kasi when you talk about party system, there should be inclusion of people's participation na hindi nangyayari ngayon sa ating political system. Jun, your what's this, comments, reaction on the last question I laid down?
Well, Agnes, I fully agree with Atty. Mike, no? And I'm glad to hear that Ateneo is doing something about, the subject, no? By instituting such kind of studies.
Yeah.
And, tama naman eh. Kailangan talaga yung participative governance, no? Including the party system. Unfortunately, ang ganda sana ng party list law natin. Kasi yan is to give chance doon sa sectoral representation. But look what happened. We are good at circumventing the law. That's one of the things that I think na kailangan nating tingnan kasi we never run out of law. We have very good law. Okay? If you look at the party list law, if you look at the 1987 Constitution, okay naman eh.
Yeah.
Even the multi-party system, if it is being followed, okay naman sana eh. But the thing is, it is not. They know how to circumvent it, and they keep on circumventing this every election or not even during election season. So, ito yung I will cite an example in recently lang, no? Yung ating party list system. Nag-set ng record ang ACT-CIS. They garnered 2.7 million votes.
Yeah.
Unprecedented in the history of Philippine election or even the party list system. So, kung titingnan mo, pag-aaralan mo, how they were able to get 2.7 million. And the rest of the party list got 200, 300, something like that. I think the next who got is just over 900,000. Ang punto ko dito, Agnes, is yung maganda yung batas, maganda yung intention ng batas, but why it is not happening, why this is not being applied. The same goes, yung question ko. Sabi nga ni Atty. Mike, Philippine democracy was patterned after the US democracy, right? Pero why is it that the US, utilizing the kind of democratic system that they have, is working with the Americans?
Yeah.
And why the pattern that was adopted by the Philippines is not working over here? Because, very simple, in America, when there is a new law, the first thing that the Americans will think is how to abide with the law.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not here in the Philippines, because if there is a new law, the first thing that those who will be ramming against the provision of the law is how to circumvent it. That's the first thing. That's the first reaction. Instead of reading the whole
Context.
intent of the
Yeah.
law, there will be certain provisions that will run aground with them. So they will think of something. They are so we not they we are, because I'm also a Filipino, you know.
Yeah.
So we are so good at that circumvention. So it doesn't work here. Absolutely, democracy doesn't work here the way it is working in the US. So yan lang yung ano ko, no? Yan yung analysis ko diyan, na sabi nga pagdating ng eleksyon, almost all candidates are talking about pagbabago, change. At lahat ng kandidato ang sasabihin makamahirap para sa mahirap. Tama? Because ito yung gusto nilang marinig eh. At nagtatagumpay sila ng dahil dyan. So every election, believe you me, those two words, halos lahat gagamitin niya.
Pagbabago para sa mahirap, pero ang mga tao ang naghihirap. Mga ka-TFW, it's quite a heavy discussion to talk about the Philippine politics. Kaya dyan lang po kayo, and we will talk about political dynasty, social media, and the presidential candidates when we come back. Please stay tuned with us.
Every day, the Philippines does more than wait. Putting together new adventures. And experiences for you to try. We're making our sites better for you to see. Cooking up new dishes for you to taste. And preparing cultural discoveries for you to feel. And we're not stopping. Because we know that you deserve more. We can't wait to welcome you.
Okay. Welcome back, and you're still watching with us live here in the Filipinos world. I'd like to greet happy birthday to Michael Martin and happy wedding anniversary to Marichu Martin and Michael Martin. both also from Bacolod City. Happy birthday to Hannah Mercorio, and happy birthday to Ambassador Gary Domingo, the Philippine ambassador to New Zealand, who is also celebrating the same birthday as I have. Still with us here, live in the Filipinos world, Attorney Michael Yusingco and Engineer June Francisco. Engineer June Aguilar. What is this? Names are mixed up. Sorry about that, June. All right, gentlemen, let's talk about political dynasty in the Philippines. Attorney Yusingco, you mentioned here in one of your interviews, you said, there is no law yet to regulate participation of political dynasties in our elections, and they are growing. Would you speculate that legislators are not passing law to eradicate political dynasty because themselves are partakers of this dynasty in one way or another?
Oh, yes, Agnes. I don't think we need to speculate. I think that has been proven in the last Congress, where, if you can remember, they actually filed House Bill number 1, I think, to amend the Constitution, removing term limits, right? So we know with some degree of certainty that our legislators, particularly in the House of Representatives, they are not, to be kind to them, they are not that willing, or they do not feel the urgency to obey the mandate of the Constitution to enact a law to regulate political dynasties. No? And the reason for that is because they benefit from the status quo.
Yeah.
No? They are able to stay in power as dynasties precisely because of the absence of the law. And I wish to update all of us na based on our studies, since the 2019 elections, around 70% of the members of the House of Representatives belong to fat dynasties. Now, these are not just ordinary dynasties. We call these fat dynasties because they have really multiple members of the clan simultaneously holding public office. So, isang congressman, most likely, ang kapatid niya dun sa distrito niya ay either governor of the province or mayor of the province, or yung asawa niya vice mayor, yung pinsan niya councilor.
Oh my God.
So, 70% of our lawmakers in the Congress belong to such kinds of dynasties, no? Multiple members
Of the family.
Dominating our provinces, our
Electoral
legislative
post, yeah.
districts.
So, hindi talaga mapapasa batas ang to eradicate this political dynasty kasi June, you mentioned to me offline that there are only around 78 families dominating the country, or is that correct? If my figure is right?
Well, yes. These families are the ones controlling the political and
system.
economic power, you know,
Yeah.
and this is a very bad combination actually. When you control politics and the political front, and you control the economic front, then there is no way that others may have the kind of opportunities that they will be engaged with. So, yun yung problema eh. Kaya dito sa bansa natin, yung mayaman talagang yayaman yan.
Yeah.
At yung mahirap, talagang maghihirap yan. Kasi wala silang wala silang oportunidad. Papalit-palit lang. Ngayon, mayor yan. Sa susunod, magpapalitan yung mag-asawa. Magiging vice mayor yung isa, magiging mayor yung isa. Or kaya naman, governor yung isa, yung asawa, yung anak naman ng mayor. Things like that, no? Including the congressional districts, as Attorney Mike was explaining a while ago. So these are rampant, no? And tama yung observation nila, and I think that study is really something for us to look at. Kasi if you have 70% of the total representation in the House that comprises 300 slots, then mahirap talaga. Particularly on critical legislation that is mandated by the Constitution. Actually, it is enshrined in our Constitution. But the enabling law is not being done because as it was discussed na talagang ayaw nilang gawin yan dahil sila yung unang-unang tatamaan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, ang unang-unang proposal, can you imagine, nakakatawa yun na nakakatawa na nakakainis na tatanggalin pa nga yung term limit. Which is, yun na nga lang sana, pero ang nangyayari is kabaliktaran. No? So, ang chances of getting a political dynasty wiped off, I think not in the near future, no? Kung ganyan ang patuloy na mangyayari at pababayaan din ng taong bayan.
It seems like to me, as it appears, na nagiging ano na to siya eh. How do you call that? It's like a cliche because this has already been a pattern since how many years ago when when the multi-party system started. And the politicians, as you mentioned, June, kanina, no, nagiging trend na siya. Nagiging, people are just circumventing the law because they try to avoid, implementing it because they will not benefit when if it's on their favor or not on their favor. Let's talk about. Okay, because we have few minutes now left. Let's jump into here. Is color a good representation of a party? Does it have bearing or significance in running any electoral post? Attorney Michael, what's your say on this?
It shouldn't, no? Kasi we should, as voters, we should be more critical about how our politicians conduct their campaign, no? So, if we are stuck in that paradigm where politicians are represented by colors like yellow, pink, green, or blue, then we're not going to improve, no? We're not going to move forward in really improving the way we conduct our politics. So, my view is we shouldn't give much importance with the colors, no? I mean, they're good, they're pretty to look at, and they're very easy to identify who's running and who's not. But to be serious and just look at the colors as representations of politics, I highly recommend that we move away from that kind of thinking, no? And just really focus on really improving the way we conduct our politics.
That's right. Papagalitan ka ata ng mga Jesuits sa sinabi mo. I'm just kidding. All right. In this particular portion, I will be showing you the presidential candidates' photos, and once it's flashed, or I'll mention the name, your comment about them. Let's start with Manny Pacquiao. June, what's your comment about Manny Pacquiao running for president?
Well, I guess the guy means well, but malaking question yung capability on managing macroeconomically, no?
Yeah.
Medyo merong konti doon.
Okay. Hanggang dun lang. Okay. Attorney Mike Esco Moreno.
Well, I'm glad that he has started to offer some concrete policies. And in fact, I've reacted to them in my Facebook page and Twitter page. So, I think he's starting on the right foot, no? By offering concrete steps as what he will do if he becomes president. So, I hope we can see more policies. In fact, I want to see his first 100 days plan. So
All right.
I'm hopeful that that's coming in the next couple of weeks.
And young and vibrant. Okay. Ping Lacson June, what's your reaction on him?
Well, Ping, what's good with Senator Ping is that he's among, I think, the only one who is not getting his PDAP, no, or yung pork barrel among the 24 senators. And I think dalawa lang sila dati, Joker Arroyo and him, na ever since hindi tumanggap yan ng pork barrel. That's one, no? Kasi I'm not saying that na yung kumukuha ganito ganon. No. But that's a sign, no? When you can deprive yourself with such an amount of money, that's one thing, no? That's a good indication, I would say.
All right.
And I think Senator Ping is also yung pagdating doon sa law and order, which is very, very important also. But may mga issues lang sa kanya, like yung mga naging role niya in the past. And I think everyone naman may mga kanya-kang records, no, na kinukwestiyon ng iba't ibang sektor.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Michael Bato de la Rosa, your reaction?
Well, it's going to be an uphill climb for him, no? Kasi from the very start, he already sort of handicapped himself by saying that he just filed his candidacy because upon the prodding of the party members 3 hours before. So it's going to be challenging for him, but he can overcome that challenge if he can offer something different from the current administration. So obviously he has already said that he will just continue the programs and policies, and in fact he wants to continue the legacy of the current administration. But the challenge for him is to offer something different, something more or something better, and we should await for that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you. And June, Lenny Robredo.
Well, of course, the Vice President have shown also her capabilities despite being out of the cabinet, I think her office has done a good job in providing services to the people, to the constituency. Siguro, she just have to prove about her toughness, no? Kasi iba ang presidente, iba ang malaki ang pagkakaiba sa vice presidency at saka sa presidency. So I think we need she need to show that she can occupy that highest position with resolve. Kasi alam mo naman dito sa atin yung maraming makismo
Yeah.
Alam mo yun, di ba?
Okay, right. Bongbong Marcos, and then I want you to, after Bongbong Marcos, Attorney Yusingco, I want you both to make your own analysis about Sara Duterte. Attorney Michael on Bongbong Marcos.
Similar to Senator Bato, former Senator Bongbong Marcos suffers a huge handicap in two ways. The first one is he's been absent in the public eye for the past 5 years. He's been virtually non-existent in the public eye except for the protests. And number two, obviously the burden of his name. The brand is still very much tainted and also despised, despite their attempts to revise history. So he needs to overcome those two handicaps, and again, that can only be overcome if he can offer really a good roadmap towards that better normal. So it has to be really something that's spectacular and also doable at the same time.
All right.
So, but really he suffers from a very huge deficit because of his name.
But he is number one in the, the survey nowadays. All right, okay, let's go to that. On Sara Duterte, do you think she will substitute Bato de la Rosa and run for president on the November 15 deadline for the substitution of candidates? There is a nationwide clamor for Sara to run as president. Is she just waiting for the deadline and she will substitute de la Rosa? June 1st, and then Attorney Michael.
Well, my fearless forecast is that he will run. It's a matter of time. In all indications that recent days is being shown, anyway, it's a personal forecast, and that's a fearless forecast that she will run.
Yeah.
Of course, Mayor Sara is also qualified, and she's into politics for a longer period of time. So, well, if she runs, of course, the people will definitely scrutinize her fully dahil sa ngayon naman, hindi pa naman siya talaga dumideklara na tatakbo.
Okay. Thank you. And Attorney Michael?
As a voter, I just take her word for it, no? That she said that she doesn't want to run, and I believe her because why would she lie to me, right? Why would she lie to the voters? Why would she mislead us, right? So I just believe her when she said that, and also as an observer of elections, I don't think there's a possibility for her to substitute Senator Bato because she's not a member of PDP Laban.
All right.
So the only way that she can substitute Bato before the deadline is if she joins PDP Laban. So the substitution seems a very distinct possibility. But as I said, as a voter, reason to believe that she's lying to me or misleading me. So I believe her when she said that she's not going to run.
All right. Thank you so much. Mga ka-TFWs, there you have it. Live from Melbourne, Australia, the policy analyst and constitutionalist, Attorney Michael Henry Yusingco. And live from Quezon City, Philippines, he is the former OFW and the president of Filipino Migrants Group, Engineer Francisco June Aguilar Jr. We will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back, and you're still watching with us live here for our finale here in the Filipinos world. And I'd like to thank my friends watching: Mon Garrido, Cecilia Ichavia, Joy Taran-Pitillar, Malin Dagasuhan. Thank you so much for watching. And again, happy birthday to Ambassador Gary Domingo of New Zealand. And thank you so much for those who extended on my 50th birthday greetings. I especially thank my family, friends, and loved ones for being part of my existence. I am so grateful that for having known you, and this life is so short and we may not live long, and I'll take this opportunity of saying thank you so much for being part of my existence from the bottom of my heart. For suggestions, comments, or feedback, you may please get in touch via email, thefilippinosworld@gmail.com. You may follow us also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel, The Filipinos World. If you want to become one of our sponsors, you may please express your intent and write us an email at thefilippinosworld@gmail.com. If you want your story to be featured, and because you think that you inspire other Filipinos and you are one of the Filipinos who have a great story and recognizing that potential to be shown in the world, then send us your intent via email at thefilippinosworld@gmail.com. We wish to thank all our guests in gracing here in the Filipinos World: Attorney Michael Henry Yusingco. He is the policy analyst and constitutionalist based in Melbourne, Australia. And Engineer Francisco June Aguilar Jr. He is the president of the Filipino migrant groups, and he is live also from Quezon City. Thank you so much, Attorney Michael and Engineer June, for gracing here in the Filipinos World. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Thank you, really. Next week, we will be joined by exceptional Filipino men at work and service with our guest, the Filipino-American citizen who is the mayor in Brunswick, Ohio, Brunswick City, Ohio, Mayor Ron Falconi, together with Philippine Ambassador to New Zealand, Ambassador Jesus Gary Domingo. That is live, so please stay tuned with us on that. The Filipinos World would like to thank our executive producer, Mr. Paul Markovicius, the station manager, Ms. Jean Cerujijas, social media team, Mount Mom, kaagapay ako ng OFW, our technical team, Engineer Jong Sendigo and Engineer Ernie Banson, and to all supporters and viewers of the Filipinos World. We wish to thank also Love Model ES, Envirocal PH, and Ichibun Seafoods, and of course, Revival Spa. Thank you so much. For this to say, we bring the Filipinos closer to the world. We bring the world closer to the Filipinos, and the Filipinos closer to each other. This has been your TFW Agnes, thanking everyone for watching here in the Filipinos World. Goodbye and have a safe weekend.